Lamar Jackson, and I'm going to throw C.J. Stroud and Josh Allen into that conversation. Do you see any of these teams that actually have a franchise quarterback right now?
No, but I mean, the thing is, like, if you're thinking franchise quarterback is they have to be borderline elite, there's only a handful of those in the league anyway.
I'm not even talking that. I'm talking like a guy that you can plug under center for 10 years, maybe more, that's going to consistently win you games and consistently get you to the playoffs. I can't look at the AFC. I mean, Joe Burrow, you could probably throw into that conversation, but he's been so injury prone since coming into the league. Who knows how long he's going to make it. But, I mean, outside of that, you look at the AFC, there's not that many teams that are kind of in that position where you can be like, this is going to be my quarterback for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean.
Not for 10, but yeah. Josh Allen ain't going nowhere for another 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like, I mean, some of the names you put out there are a little older.
Which kind of shows you, I guess, how valuable it is to have a guy like Mahomes, how valuable it is to have a guy like Herbert and Josh Allen and just some of these other players where if you have a guy, you need to do what you can do to not only lock him up long-term right away, kind of like what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes, how basically by the end of year 3 they gave him a 14-year contract, but to get as much talent around him as you can right away, knowing that once you pay your quarterback, it's going to be almost impossible to start paying all the other talent around him. So, like, that's where when it came to, like, Jacksonville and when it came to Tua, they gave Tua Tyreek Hill. They gave Tua Jalen Waddle in the draft, but after next year, they're going to have to figure out how to pay Jalen Waddle and Tyreek at the same time. But then you look at guys like Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. You literally gave away everything that Justin Herbert had. And Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. What does he have at this point? He's got nothing. And same thing now with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has literally never been really given anything since he's been in Jacksonville. Yes, you brought in Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis, who are very solid wide receivers, but neither one of them is a number one. They're both number twos, number threes at best, and now that's literally your top two receivers. Evan Ingram, who was the tight end last year, had a breakout season last year, but he's not considered a top-flight tight end. Travis Etienne was his running back in college who showed flashes last year, but again, he's not really a top 5, top 10 running back. That's another reason why I think Trevor Lawrence struggles. It's because Jacksonville has a guy that has all the intangibles to be a franchise quarterback, but they have just done a terrible job surrounding him with the talent that he needs to be successful long-term.
Yeah. So, Rob, tell us about this institutional wealth thing you're talking about.
Yeah, so like private equity firms is what I saw. The NFL is now looking at the possibility of allowing like private equity firms. So in a sense, being able to purchase like a minority stake in sports teams. So in the sense, you're not going to have individual owners like, your primary and then maybe a secondary owner, a minority stake owner as an individual. You'll have private equity firms being able to funnel money into these. So essentially, the NFL has never allowed that before. And now they're looking at the possibility of bringing on and allowing private equity firms to invest in the NFL teams.
That would be interesting.
Isn't that what they're kind of doing now, though? I mean, that's what the naming of these stadiums are all about. These are equity firms that are like Lincoln Financial Field. Let me tell you, it's been that way since it opened. It's been called Lincoln Financial Field. And I thought that Lincoln Financial owned a piece of the Eagles. That's what makes this all work.
Well, no, I mean, those are naming rights, though. I mean,
those are naming rights.
Right, but they're millions upon millions of dollars. And the way that they do that is to be able to get that.
Well, they get all the advertising from it. I mean, that's why they're spending it, because every time they talk about the team or the field or whatever, it comes up. I mean, but for them to actually be allowed to be part of ownership,
Yeah. So they're going to be able to receive revenue. So like private equity, so people invest in private equity funds. So like private equity firms, like if I was a millionaire and I wanted to, have a firm, I can invest in an NFL team in a sense. So it's more taking like business investments, allowing companies to invest and then receive a share of the profits instead of owners themselves, like as an individual.
All right.
That would make the ownership meetings interesting. Because then all of a sudden you'd have boardrooms, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what they're saying, because like essentially that's what these capital firms do, right? They invest in companies to grow and buy and sell. So they're looking at making it's almost like playing the stock market. It's like investing in a stock market kind of situation. So that's what I mean is you're going to have customer, the firm itself has all of these people who are investing their money in the firm. So you're going to have all of these individuals saying, hey, listen, we need to make these changes. We need to make these rules. Now they're only going to be allowed as a minority stake owner. So they won't be a majority. So it won't be a fully owned where the decisions will be made, but they will have say. So if you are like a member, an investor in this firm, you in a sense are like a stockholder going to a stockholders meeting and being able to voice your opinion and give on what the team should be doing. And then the company itself will take that to the board. We'll take that up with the league. So you're going to have a little bit more of more ownership invested on the financial situation instead of just I own the team and I'm making money. And, my Robert Kraft owns, the Patriots, right? So you think of, he's making all that money. Now it's going to have a board, like you said, in a sense, bro.
What you're kind of telling me is this is what Comcast did to the Flyers. They bought the Flyers, and then it was a corporation setting. Listen, I don't care as long as it ain't my team. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I
totally get that.
I learned from the Flyers that that corporations don't know how to run franchises. You're going to find that out with Washington Commanders. That's what that guy does. He likes to buy sports franchises. Yep. And he figures every once in a while he'll hit pay dirt and win a championship, but he don't give a shit. He don't care a little bit. He wants more playoff games. He wants to go to as many playoff games as possible. He don't care if the ring's at the end. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants the money, and that's what it becomes about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, realistically, that's what the Mariners have been for years, right? It was the Nintendo ownership group that had it, and they didn't care about winning. They just cared about keeping the team in Seattle, which they did, and I appreciate that they did. But their main goal wasn't to win.
You as somebody in the media needs to try. So at that point, there's got to be an owner, right? Somebody is looked at as the CFO or CEO.
Of course.
And you have to start to call them out on things because ultimately, they are going to be held responsible to anything else. And it's until you start to ask, this is what happened with the Flyers. We had no idea who was making the decision for the Flyers. His name was David Scott, and he was like an absentee owner. So you never knew what was going on. You never knew where decisions were coming from. And it starts and it turned the whole franchise, a storied franchise like the Flyers within hockey, to a shit franchise that lost most of its fan base because of corporate ownership. Now, they got wise at this point and said, okay, now let's start to do some homegrown shit. Let's start to do homegrown. All right, we're gonna get the ex-Flyers back in here, which the Flyers have always done. But let's get Danny Briere. Let's get Keith Jones. And these guys are beloved in Philadelphia here. And then let's get a CEO who doesn't mind having interviews and talking to somebody to be held accountable for some of the bad decisions that are being made on the corporate in the corporate setting for this franchise. And you got to make sure that guy's a Philly guy or else it won't work here. Until that occurs, And with the Mariners, if you're saying the Mariners are owned by a corporation, until that occurs, you're going to continue to have a shit product.
Yeah, so they're not anymore. So Nintendo isn't the main owner. They sold it back in 2016, I believe. So now they're still part of it, right? Like they didn't get rid of all of their ownership stake, but they're no longer the primary. I believe the current primary owners were Microsoft people, as I recall.
But you still have that same problem then.
Yeah, the thing about with the Mariners with Nintendo was they call it the Nintendo ownership group, but really it was the gentleman who owned in Japan, who owned Nintendo, also owned the Mariners.
Yes.
And the reason why that was a big problem ultimately is because he was an owner who actually never came to one game for the Mariners. Like he never watched Mariners baseball. He never actually came to the States to go to a game. He was an owner who just like I own the team and wrote checks. Had nothing to do with actually being an owner. It was really a weird situation that we had with that when Nintendo owned us.
But
don't be cross that because I wish Jerry Jones would adopt that. Just be an owner, write checks, get a GM, and let them run the show. I wish Jerry Jones would adopt that. I really do.
We've won the same amount of rings, so I don't think it was effective. But
just out of curiosity, though, Robert.
I'm sorry. Eventually, the hens come to roost.
Yeah, they do.
That happens.
No, I mean,
ask Robert. I did want to get a temperature check on Robert. Robert, how does it feel to know that the Seattle is starting to lose grips on that first place spot you got there, and that Houston is under breathing? We're only 4 games out of first.
I know we're going through our little gauntlet right now, but we'll still hold on to that lead. We'll hold on to that lead, but I agree with you. We were talking about that earlier. Houston's playing a lot better ball than they had started off with. So, you're chasing. We see you coming, but and like Bo said, we're going through our gauntlet. Like we literally just lost. I mean, at least we got one against Baltimore. That was okay. And, now we've got 4 coming up against the Yanks. I think the thing is once we get past that, we'll start having a little bit easier schedule. So hopefully we'll be able to make up some games there. But
that's a mouthful, though. The Yankees, I mean, the way they're playing right now, and Judge and God Soto has just gone into a whole different stratosphere. Yeah. That guy Gill with the 14 strikeouts he had a game or so. I mean, this is a team that's going to give you the full gauntlet, and they're going to see if you really are a first place team or if you're just a pretender. Now, we beat the Yankees. I don't know who we are.
We're hoping to split, right? Like that's the goal. Split. Split with the Yanks. We took 1 from Baltimore, which I think was good. And yes, Pags, I've got your pizza and your Goldschlager, so don't worry. It's already prepped, ready to go.
You better filter that Goldschlager. I don't want minty gold. I want gold. Flakes.
No, I'm gonna strain out the flake. I'm gonna strain out the flakes and then sprinkle the flakes on your pizza for you.
I appreciate that.
He said, "I ate my pizza."
Probably actually cheaper to go to a baking store and get the gold leaf.
I was thinking the same thing. That might just be easier.
Certainly
more cost effective.
Probably. Well, no, because then I can drink the Goldschlager without the gold. I can still drink
That's fair.
That part, right? I'm just going to give you the flakes.
You can probably get gold-colored like garlic salt. That would be perfect.
All right, I'll do that.
Or spray paint.
Robert, that's just disgusting. I don't know why anyone would put garlic salt.
I don't ever eat makeup before.
Exactly. But this 7-game stretch against Baltimore and then the Yankees is that's a rough stretch. And then you get right after that we have the Nationals.
So we should be able to take some of that.
Yeah, to finish the road trip. I mean, not that the Nationals are terrible. But, they basically have the same record as, Houston. So,
yeah,
so it's not like they're a terrible team. So, I mean, that is kind of a rough road trip, but it at least gives you an idea where it is we stack up.
And we had the Twinkies before that. So that was also a tough one, right? It's not like it's not like just Baltimore and the Yanks are the only thing that we had to go through in this little stretch here. So
and we can actually help you guys out this week. We'll see, because I tell you, I think it's been 6 years since we've beaten the Rangers. Like they sweep us all the time. So
I can't see that happening this year. I mean, your Phillies are playing like lights out baseball, so I got to give you props on that.
Hey, Robert, never say that. This is baseball. Everything can turn with a dim of a hat. Come on now. You know better than that.
You know what? And like I said, we were playing decent baseball. I mean, the first time, I think we got them early in the season. They were like that. We opened up with them and they swept us. And the time before that, they came here and they swept us. And then I think the time before that, they swept us. I mean, so until we actually win a game against them, you know what I mean?
I like that you weren't even going series. You're just like, until we win a game.
Yeah, let's go. Let's start with one. You got to start small here. Let's win this game. Win the first game. Win the first game.
It makes me think.
And then we could possibly win the series. You know what I mean?
Makes me think of Major League. We won today, and then if we win tomorrow and we win the next day, it's called a streak.
Yeah, I think the bats are similar. So yeah, I understand putting up runs, but I mean your pitching has been lights out. I mean, what is Stram now at like 17 or 18 innings, like scoreless innings or something? Like he's just on fire. So I think that's where I think you can take the Rangers this year, because I don't think the Rangers have great pitching. You have way better pitching. So you can put up numbers. So on the offensive side, so.
And to be honest, I thought that we would have beaten the Rangers last year. I think that our pitching really would have been better than theirs. You
weren't going to beat the Rangers last year. That team, like when you dial in and you were just so dialed. Aroldis Garcia, that guy was so dialed in, though, Pags. I don't think anybody was going to beat. I just think that was their year. It was their year.
Hey, listen, we'll never know is the problem. We'll never know
they
because
they
went cold. They went cold. Phillies went cold 2 games against the Diamondbacks.
That's like a personal problem for team management. Maybe somebody should dock some money over there going cold.
Well, hey, listen, things happen.
It happens. I mean, that's what I was trying to tell you.
That's true.
Most of the time, you know what I mean? Houston has been getting up to that point. Well, and I'm not even blowing smoke. I'm not even talking about that, but I'm saying that they had gone to the NLC or the ALCS and the World Series and lost. You know what I mean? To a Braves team, they lost to a Braves team who wasn't very good. Like they had a losing record at the halfway point of the baseball season and got a whole bunch of new stuff at the trade deadline and wound up just getting on fire.
Right.
And they wound up beating you guys outright. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you this, though. Hey, Pags, I'll tell you this. And, Robert, it goes back to what you initially had said. And I told you how baseball is streaky. You just never know. I mean, look, you take the Yankees. Remember when the Yankees came out, the barn doors and start? They were like #1 team in the league all the way up to the All-Star break. And that's when Houston took them back down to size. But that team was red hot on fire, too. Even back then, they were doing great. But everything can come to a scratching halt like that. If things go left or things go right within the team, their dynamics, whatever, it's just baseball is too streaky. It's just so streaky.
The All-Star break ruins a lot of teams.
That's true. It does. That long layoff does.
Mariners have always had a problem with that.
Yeah, it ruins the Mariners all the time. They'll come in, they're finally playing good baseball. All-Star break comes, they forget how to play baseball for 3 weeks. Like during that 3 weeks, they'll win 2 games.
That's because good teams. Traditionally, good teams can flip the switch at the All-Star break. That's
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this then from the All-Star break perspective, because this is what I remember this happened to Julio, and this is why part of our problem coming out the gate is having your top guys play in the home run derby, where Julio pulled his shoulder. Julio pulled his shoulder and he came out, and that's why the Mariners sputtered coming out that first year, was because playing in the home run derby. Like, do you think you want to see your players actually play in that?
The Mariners flip the switch too. They just flip it the wrong direction is the problem.
But sometimes the All-Star break could be a good thing.
We're done.
Right. I mean, like if your team is rolling into the All-Star game and you got injuries or you're just not in rhythm, sometimes that All-Star break can help reset your team too. So it can go both ways, on all honesty in that.
No, it definitely can. Just historically for the Mariners, it hasn't. But yes.
Yeah. We're good. We're good for 80 games.
Exactly. The Mariners have a very predictable roller coaster. We've seen it a lot of times. It's the same ride every time, so you know what it's going to be. But
you think about it, in 2022, I mean, we were at, what was it? We were like 27-33 at one point, and then that's when we fired Girardi.
Oh, okay.
And then we were able to turn it around. But I mean, it was close to the All-Star game. The All-Star, it was like, all right, we had a month. We had pretty good baseball, and then out of the All-Star break, I think we won the first 6 games.
Okay.
And
nice.
like that just propelled us moving forward. This year it's different because we have a lot of home games early. We're playing at home a lot right now. But you need to take advantage of those. You need to be able to hold serve. If that mystique carries on to the away games, like where we're able to, hey, we're this good because we know we're this good, and then we start going away and start winning games like that. That's where it becomes scary. That's when you think you could have like an all-time team.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard right now. They're having conversations right now. The Phillies are having conversations on what happens when Trey Turner comes back. Because who are we sending down?
Yeah.
So we have that big of a problem. I think the problem is easily resolved. You got to send a Turnbull down, who is, as a starting pitcher, only has a 1.67 ERA. You know
I don't know if I'd send that down.
Well, do you think if it's such a problem, do you think that there's a possibility the Phillies could be like like a seller at the All-Star break and maybe make a trade on one of these guys to like boost?
They're going to wind up having to do something. Like I said, they can't send down Christian Pache, who is our utility outfielder. One, he's really well liked in the group, and 2, he doesn't have any more options available to him. You can't send down Cody Clemens because the son of a bitch needs to be up in the Major League Baseball.
Ooh, what the hell was that?
Sorry, that was me.
His fire alarm.
That's what it sounds like.
It's a little smoky.
Put the bong down, Jay.
Right. No,
just get in the arc already, Jay.
That's where we're going to learn something about our Mariners. Are they going to be sellers at the deadline?
I don't think so.
Are they buyers or sellers? Because that'll let us know what they're doing the rest of the season.
That's true. Yeah. Usually we're sellers.
Exactly.
We're almost through May now. You know what I mean? It's still 2 months away from that.
Oh, I know, but it's funny because the Mariners are normally sellers, and so it's not like we're running away with this thing, right? Like the rest of our division is right there. So, I mean, we got the Rangers that are a game and a half back. The Astros are 4 games, something like that. The rest of the guys,
4.
Yeah, the rest of the guys don't matter. But the Angels and the A's, they're done. They've resided back to the kind of baseball they normally play. So, because the A's are 1-9 in their last 10, so they're not exactly killing it. But the top 3 of our division are really close, right? So if it switches up a little bit, then do we see the Mariners take that seller's approach? I hope not. I want to see them finally make a push and hey, let's do something. But
who would they get rid of?
What's that?
Yeah, I don't know who we could trade at this point. I mean, we could probably maybe a starter. We've got some pitching. Maybe Hancock could go. I'm not really big on him. And if Woo's back and healthy, we don't have Brash this year because he just went into Tommy John. So otherwise, Brash could be a trade chip. I like him, but he could be a trade chip. But with Tommy John, he's not going to do anything. They're not going to go anywhere. But I think pitching is the only thing the Mariners have. We don't have bats. So if we're selling some kind of pitching. Who knows? We could sell we could trade Munoz. We could just figure out another closing situation and see who needs a closer and trade Munoz. We're known to trade our closer, our star closers anyway. Every time we get one.
There is that. Yeah,
so that
closers so much.
because I think the way the Mariners vibe is that we are good at developing pitching. So there's always that concept of the next man up in our pitching staff. Like we can just take any scrap heap pitcher off the pile, and we can turn them into a star or a decent starter or decent, like we can make something of them. We just can't develop bats. Like we should be buying bats, which we don't. But when it comes to starting pitching and, even relievers, we're known to be like scrap heap guys. We can pick you off the scrap heap and make you into something. So I think there's that vibe of a multi-million-dollar closer isn't as important to us.
I mean, they can definitely develop pitching. The problem is they trade them away so they can win a ring. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, cool. You're finally that dude. Why don't you go over there? Oh, cool. You got a ring. Awesome. Or you're washed up and you're going to go win 3 more Cy Youngs or whatever. It's fine. Not bitter at all.
That's true. We can develop pitching and we trade them when they're good and they go on and win. And then our bats are so bad, but we used to be able to develop bats. The only problem is when we do develop bats, we never gave them enough looks. So, like, we don't give our bats enough looks and then we trade them. Cause I mean, if you really look back at it, like, what was it? Adam Jones. He was a Mariner for us. We had, back in the day, I forgot his name, the Asian guy who went to Cleveland. I think he went to Cleveland. I want to say he was a second baseman that we had. So we've developed some bats in the past, but we just trade everything. We don't give our bats enough time. So We'll see.
I don't know.
We'll see.
I think that there was enough time given to like A-Rod and Ken Griffey Jr. and things like that.
Well, we're talking a long time ago now, but yeah. That was
A-Rod burned us. A-Rod. Sorry, both.
The best team to never win.
Yeah.
Like roster-wise, that was the best team to never win. Like that was a full-on all-star team that just, for whatever reason, didn't close the deal. But
too many egos.
Well, yeah, we saw that with A-Rod when he left for money. The way he left.
Yep.
He's still a hated person here too. He probably gets, if he was to show up, he'd probably get just as many boos as Altuve.
No doubt. Probably more, honestly.
Yeah,
I will say, Jay, it is funny if you go to a Mariners game and you sit in the stadium. Anytime they play Houston, when Altuve comes up, it is like, it's like the 12th man. He gets so booed.
Oh yeah. Oh, I have no doubt that Altuve gets booed at other stadiums.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if he didn't. Just like I'd be surprised if P. Diddy Combs doesn't go to jail.
The odds are high.
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah, I watched that. I don't know if I watched that, but that was about P. Diddy's rise and fall, and wow. All I can think about is Jerry Maguire. People don't understand the pressures that $54 million comes with.
I'm just going to say my conspiracy theory with P. Diddy is I think him and Jay-Z had Biggie killed. I don't think that's a retaliation because P. Diddy's. Yeah. If you look at P. Diddy and you look at Jay-Z's careers, as soon as Biggie was off the scene, those two blew up more than anything. Right?
Skyrocketed. Especially P. Diddy. He definitely skyrocketed.
That's my conspiracy theory. It wasn't a Tupac. It wasn't a Tupac situation.
Always count on Jay to make this show weird.
I'm sorry, man. My fire detector went off. I'm over here doing like search and rescue raids around my living room. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what's going on.
But I was going to say about the Mariners, the only thing is I think, like you said, Bo, for us, it's momentum. I think the scary thing about the Mariners is, and I'm hoping that they realize this year, is that you're probably not getting a wild card out of our division at this point. Probably the only team getting in the division is in the postseason is the division winner from our division. Otherwise, we're probably if we're in second, the second place team's probably not making it. So
no, you have
hopefully that lights a fire under their butts.
Yeah, no, you got to win to get in. There's no second team coming from our division.
No.
At least I wouldn't think so. As well as the top is in the other divisions.
I don't know though, but like I said earlier, but man, things can change. I remember last year I remember last year, things were changing around in the East and in the Central. I mean, all over the place in terms of the records, numbers of wins. I don't know. With baseball, that's one thing I learned about baseball. I never count anything out. I just take it for what it is because every time I do that, it always goes the opposite direction where I think it's going to go.
Well, I mean, like, where's Tampa out right now? Because, like, I feel like out of that, they're at the bottom.
They're at the bottom.
Yep.
I mean, their record's not like
they're over 500, though, aren't they? I feel like that whole division is every team in that division is over 500 right now at this point.
I think Tampa and Toronto are both under.
Yeah, because Toronto was they had a worse record than Houston when I checked yesterday. So yeah, you're right. Toronto
25 and 23.
Okay.
25 and 23. Yeah,
so I don't know, man. I mean, if Tampa's out, if Tampa and Toronto both have terrible record, not terrible record, but they're not winning records. Is their division really any better than ours? I mean, at the top level, you can say that the Yankees for sure.
The Jays are 1 game behind Houston.
Yeah, that's what I saw yesterday.
There's only going to be 2 teams that come out of the AL East. That's going to be the Yankees and Baltimore. The rest of that division
I agree with that.
At best.
Yeah, and I think Yankees get the wild card. I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore takes that division again.
I mean, if it were to go right now, they would have 3.
They would have 3 playoff spots.
Yeah, I don't think Boston makes it in by the end of the year, and I don't think Tampa makes it in by the end of the year. I think it'll just be Yankees and Baltimore out of that division.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I got to say, since we're running,
the Royals, and then it'd be whoever wins our division. Yeah.
So I got to say this: if we're since we're running close to out of time.
Yep.
Hey Rob, if you're going to be on, you got to get yourself a stand. I can't stand looking up your nose.
Oh. Sorry, but no, that's fair. That's fair. I wasn't prepared to jump on.
It was already one thing when we saw the cat go across. It looked like you had hands in it. You know what I mean? It was another thing.
I totally understand.
So this was an impromptu thing because he dropped something in the comments that I wanted more clarity on that would have been a lot of text. So I was like, just come on.
Yeah, so I'm jumping on my phone. My computer wasn't up and running, so I didn't want to. But yes, I totally understand. I don't think anybody wants to see on my nostrils.
Now.
That's not true. Bo loves that stuff. Y'all from Seattle.
What the hell are you talking about?
Nobody wants to see that stuff. I said, nah, Bo does. Y'all from Seattle. Y'all share that same mentality.
What are you talking about?
What? Looking up in people's nostrils?
That seems to be a thing over there. I don't know what it is. It's weird.
We judge you by your nostril hair. Do you trim or not?
More research needs to be done.
You're not woke. You don't trim your nostril hair.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I did that one time. The little thing.
He
was the weirdest feeling I've ever had in my life. I think Pags does that though. I think Pags is definitely a nose trimmer up in there. I guarantee you.
No.
How was your 5K, Pags?
5K was good. I have a lot of stuff I have to edit. I have a ton of stuff I have to edit. Pretty soon I'm going to have to hire somebody who actually edits this stuff. If any one of my followers, anybody who watches that knows how to do some editing. All right, Jay.
Get in the arc.
Burning down again.
You're right.
Yeah, I need to start doing a lot of editing because I have some great interviews that I gotta get to, and I don't get to it.
Yeah.
I've been talking about making a real song for this show since we started the show.
Yeah.
You see how we start the show? Bo starts it a lot better than I do. I hit the 30-second countdown. So what happens with that is in about 7 months, all the Indian shows that want to claim that music as theirs, then they start tagging us so that they get shown up in our stuff, and you gotta fight it all. Can't stand them.
Can't say I've ran into that, but interesting.
Yeah, so the 30-second, anything from StreamYard, because we use StreamYard here, anything that comes from StreamYard that is, I guess free use.
Yeah.
You'll find that Indian companies will start to claim that and call it their own, and you have to dispute it.
Oh, they'll drop like a copyright thing on it?
Yep.
Oh, weird. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't use that 30-second countdown, but yeah, interesting. Huh.
So,
Wow.
I run into that frequently.
Weird. Well, I mean, that pretty much gets us there. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow for the full show.
Sweet.
Let's